Some animal species can do very well without male partners. Mourning geckos are just one of many examples. Their reproduction method, known as parthenogenesis, is our natural phenomenon of the week. More or less once every 2 to 4 weeks over her 5-year lifespan, the female mourning gecko goes through the same ritual. The reptile begins the search for a well-protected place to hide 1 or 2 of her eggs. 50 to 75 days later, new geckos hatch from these eggs. Not very spectacular, right? But the nocturnal climbers look exactly like their mother. And if they lay eggs, once they reach maturity after 8 months, their offspring will look exactly like them. That's because mourning geckos clone themselves, and all of them are female. No males are required to reproduce. A completely normal phenomenon. That reptiles do not need males is not totally unusual in nature, and various other species do the same. Some crabs, snails, and plants, as well as Komodo dragons and single-celled organisms, all of them come into the world alive and well without a male. The process behind this is called parthenogenesis, which means something like virgin birth. Being born in this way is possible because nature is pretty clever and has even produced different methods of parthenogenesis. In one process, hormones pretend that an unfertilized egg cell has been fertilized, kicking off development. Another method involves the existence of 2 sets of chromosomes in an egg, both of which have the same origin. In this case, and this also applies to the mourning gecko, a clone, a direct copy of the mother, is born. A method to fail. This kind of reproduction has advantages and disadvantages for the geckos. First and foremost, it is very practical because all offspring are females, and therefore every specimen can reproduce. That means the geckos can spread quickly and easily. In addition, nobody has to put in much effort or worry about the stressful search for a romantic partner. But it's not all sunshine and roses. If a disease or mutation creeps into the genetic material, then all the affected animals' clone offspring will have that disease or mutation. If it is fatal, the entire population would quickly face extinction. In sexual reproduction, this risk does not exist because both parents contribute different genetic information and the gene pack reshuffles with each new offspring. Meet the mourning gecko. The mourning gecko is a very small species of lizard that comes from a wide swathe of area across the South Pacific, Central America, South America, and North America. Despite being a very small gecko, estimated lifespan is at least 10 years, with some reports suggesting they may live 15 years or more with best care practices in captivity. The popularity of the mourning gecko has risen in recent years, with the advent of more display vivariums, fully bioactive setups with live plants which look amazing and can house entire groups of this small lizard. Mourning geckos have several interesting characteristics. They're a cathermal species, active in both day and night, meaning there's always something going on for you to see. They do favor the night and will do most of their calling and breeding at night, as this would be the safest time in the wild. They're omnivorous, with a varied diet of both fruit, nectar, and insects. Finally, they're a very social species with lots of interaction with each other, and rather unusually in the reptile world, the entire species is female and they breed through parthenogenesis. This makes keeping a group rather easy without having to stress about males who in most reptile species are territorial and dominant. In captivity, mourning geckos are arboreal and need some climbing space. We would recommend a minimum of a 30 by 30 by 4 to 5 centimeters exoterra for a group of 2 to 4 geckos. A larger enclosure, such as a 4 to 5 by 4 to 5 by 60 centimeters exoterra, would give a group of 6-8 adults plenty of space, as well as some room for their offspring when they breed. If you want to go even bigger for an amazing display setup, you can. You must ensure that the enclosure is fully secure. Hatchling mourning geckos in particular are tiny and can escape enclosures very easily. Exoterra enclosures are secure even for newborn hatchlings as long as all the ventilation and cable holes are closed. But if you accidentally leave them open, they can escape, so always check your ventilation panels. Front opening doors are easier to manage, but you must take extreme care when opening and closing the doors. Hatchling mourning geckos can easily get crushed by the door mechanism or hinges, and in Exoterra, hatchlings can fit into the black frame of the door easily and camouflage, so check carefully before closing the doors to avoid accidents. Provide lots of branches, plants, and hiding places. You can go partially bioactive if you want to have some of the benefits without growing live plants or having plant lighting. Here's an example of a non-bioactive plant setup that still has a bioactive base and cleaning crew. Lighting. Mourning geckos are often described as nocturnal, but are technically cathemeral. This means they can be awake during the day or the night, although in the wild most of their activity happens at night, as it's not very safe for a small snack-sized gecko to be out and about in the day. When mourning geckos were originally kept in captivity, people did not use any lighting with them. But as more and more research is done, we have come to realize that even nocturnal species can benefit from UVB lighting. Whilst a mourning gecko with a correctly supplemented diet may live without lighting, we highly recommend a low percentage UVB. If you're having a bioactive setup, you will additionally need a light, such as the Jungle Dawn Compact LED or Jungle Dawn LED bar that provides UVA rays, designed to provide plant growth. Otherwise, your plants will not survive long-term. Diet. Mourning geckos are omnivorous. They are small enough to fit into flowers and will drink nectar. They will eat ripe fruit and will prey on a variety of very small insects and isopods. In captivity, we feed them flightless fruit flies and a powdered fruit mix. These are easy for mourning geckos to catch, easily dusted with calcium or multivitamin supplement, and do not grow. Whilst mourning geckos will eat small crickets, crickets who escape being eaten can easily grow too large. We use Repashy powdered diets. Originally formulated for crested geckos, they now do a wide variety of powdered diets suitable for a wide range of omnivorous geckos. Mourning geckos can eat crested gecko diet, or we have success with grubs and fruit, which has a higher fruit content. There are also some exclusive fruit ranges. Pangea reptiles also do a range of powdered diets that are well researched. Because mourning geckos are constantly producing eggs, it's vital to make sure they have adequate calcium. All insects should be gut-loaded and dusted with a reptile-suitable calcium supplement. In addition, if you are not using UVB in your enclosure, you need to use a multivitamin with D3 supplement. Social interactions. Mourning geckos should be kept in at least 2 to a tank. This is very unusual in the reptile world, where most reptiles are solitary and territorial, with social interaction limited. Mourning geckos are one of the most social lizards in captivity. They can actually deteriorate in health and suffer mental health and physical problems if kept alone. These lizards will even chatter to each other at night with chirps and squeaks, with a wide range of vocalizations that we don't understand, as well as lots of social body language. Despite being social and needing company, they do also need their space, and may squabble between themselves for the best sleeping spot or food. Sometimes you'll see them tumbling or biting each other, but it's very unusual that 2 adults will cause injury to each other. Mourning geckos will still have a pecking order with 1 or 2 geckos in the matriarch position, which is often challenged as younger geckos grow up and often shift. So you always want to ensure your enclosure is large enough and there are ample opportunities for climbing, hiding, and eating. Handling mourning geckos. Handling mourning geckos has always been a common question. It is not recommended to handle this species. Over time, some mourning geckos will become tame enough to walk over your hand or take food from your hand. You may see that sometimes someone take photographs of mourning geckos on our fingers. They always do this inside the enclosure. This is such a small, fast species It is incredibly easy to lose them and incredibly difficult to find a mourning gecko you have lost unless you're lucky enough to spot them on your wall or ceiling. If that is the case, it is recommended placing an empty tub over the top of them and sliding a piece of paper over it to transport them, not grabbing them with your hands. When you catch babies to move them from the breeding enclosure or to sell, you will usher them onto the glass of their enclosure and then pop a cricket tub over them to catch them without having to stress them or risk damaging them. This is a good method if you need to move them or change their tank and want to keep them secure. Never handle them in an open space, as they can be gone before you even have time to react. That's all for now, folks. See you next time.